379 Saint Basil the Great, Bishop of Caesar and theologian Morelia, dies at about 49. 404 Telemachus, Roman monk, dies trying to stop a gladiatorial fight. 874 Hassan al-Askari, 11th Imam of Twelver Shir Islam, dies at 27. 898 Odo of France, Count of Paris 888-98, dies at 39. 960 2 Borduin Roman III of Flanders, dies of smallpox. In 1204 King Haakon Roman III of Norway, dies in alleged poisoning. In 1338 SHH Mych Akadato Kakashi, Japanese Zen Buddhist monk, and leader of Otokan Rinzai school in Japan, dies at 55. In 1387 Charles, the Bad, King of Navarre 1349-87, dies by burning at 54. King of France 1498-1515, and King of Naples 1501-04 known as the Just, dies of extrapulmonary tuberculosis at 52. In 1517 Hermann Vischer, the younger, German bronze merchant, dies at 31. In 1554 Pedro de Valdivia, Spanish conquistador and first royal governor of Chile, captured by Mapuche Indians during Battle of Tucapel and executed at 56. King of Denmark 1534-59 and Norway 1537-59, dies at 55. In 1560 Joachim du Bellay, French poet and founder of the Pléiade, dies at 38. In 1617 Hendrik Goltzus, Dutch artist and engraver, dies at 58. In 1626 Cornelis Pietershoft, Amsterdam merchant regent, dies at 68. In 1631 Thomas Hobson, the Cambridge carrier, eponym of Hobson's choice, dies at 86. In 1647 Petro Moller, Moldovan Orthodox Metropolitan Bishop of Kiev and Galicia, dies at 50. In 1661 Peter Cleese, Dutch still life painter, dies at 63. In 1697 Filippo Baldinucci, Florentine biographer art historian, dies at 71. In 1701 Pietro Sammartini, Italian composer, dies at 64. In 1716 William Wycherley, English dramatist and playwright The Country Wife, The Plain Dealer, dies at 74. In 1730 Daniel Finch, 2nd Earl of Nottingham, English Tory statesman, dies at 82. In 1730 Samuel Sewall, English-American judge and businessman, dies at 77. In 1740 Peregrine Bertie, 2nd Duke of Ancaster and Kesteven, English statesman, dies at 55. In 1748 Johann Bernoulli, Swiss mathematician, dies at 80. In 1753 Louis Maurice de la Puer, French composer, dies at 55. In 1758 Johann Friedrich von Kronig, German poet and playwright Codrus, dies at 26. In 1759 Jacques-Joachim Trotti, Marquis de la Ch French adventurer, dies at 54. In 1766 James Francis Edward Stuart the Old Pretender, Jacobite claimant to the thrones of England and Scotland after the death of his father James Roman II, dies at 77. In 1768 Jan Lorencraft, Flemish artist and engraver, dies at 73. In 1777 Emmanuel Barbeller, Neapolitan composer, dies at 58. In 1782 Johann Christian Bach, English Bach, German composer and 11th son of Johann Sebastian Bach, dies at 46. In 1787 Arthur Middleton, American signer of the Declaration of Independence, dies at 44. In 1789 Christlid Siegmund Binder, German composer, dies at 65. In 1789 Fletcher Norton, 1st Baron Grantley, English politician, Speaker of the House of Commons, dies at 72. In 1793 Francesco Guardi, Italian painter, dies at 80. In 1796 Alexander Théophile Vandemond, French mathematician, dies at 60. In 1800 Louis Jean-Marie d'Orbenton, French zoologist, dies at 83. In 1816 François Alexander Salentin, French composer, dies at 60. In 1817, Martin Heinrich Klaproth, German chemist, discovered uranium, dies at 73. In 1818, Fedele Fenaroli, Italian composer, dies at 87. In 1850, Raphael G. Kieswetter, Austria musicologist, Arab music, dies at 76. In 1853, Gregory Blaxland, Australian explorer, dies of suicide at 74. In 1862, Mikhail Ostrogradsky, Russian physicist and mathematician, dies at 60. In 1869, James Barton Longaker, American engraver, chief engraver of the United States Mint 1944-69, dies at 74. In 1869, Martin W. Bates, American politician and senator from Delaware 1857-59, dies at 82. In 1881, Auguste Blanqui, French revolutionary socialist, imprisoned for 33 years, Blanquist movement, dies at 75. In 1887, Johann Hendrik Coleman, Dutch portrait painter, Joris Rindge, dies at 66. In 1892, Roswell B. Mason, mayor of Chicago, dies at 86. In 1893, James Fleming Fagan, American farmer and Confederate Army Major General Shiloh Mark S. Mill, dies at 55. In 1894, Heinrich Hertz, German physicist, first to broadcast receive radio waves, dies after surgical complications at 36. In 1896, Alfred Ely Beach, American inventor, dies at 69. In 1901, Ignatius Donnelly, American politician, writer, and amateur scientist, dies at 69. In 1905, Mabel Cahill, Irish tennis player, US National Seaship 1891-92, dies at 41. In 1906, Joseph Miroslav Weber, Czech composer, dies at 51. In 1906, Sir Hugh Nelson, Australian politician, Premier of Queensland, dies at 72. In 1907, Cyril Kistler, German composer, educator, and music theorist, dies at 58. In 1910, Harriet Powers, African-American slave quilt maker, Bible quilt 1886, dies at 72. In 1918, William Wilfred Campbell, Canadian poet, Beyond the Hills of Dream, Ian of the Orcades, dies of pneumonia at 57. In 1919, Mikhail Drozdovsky, Russian general, leader of the Bolshevik White Movement, dies of his wounds at 37. In 1920, Paul Adam, French writer, L'Enfant d'Austerlitz, dies at 57. In 1923, Willie Keeler, American Baseball Hall of Fame outfielder, highest career AB per strikeout ratio in MLB history, NL batting champion 1897-98 Baltimore Orioles, dies of tuberculosis at 50. In 1929, Erich Wichmann, Dutch fascist painter and sculptor, dies of pneumonia at 38. In 1931, Martinus Beijerinck, Dutch microbiologist, botanist, first to coin the name virus, dies at 79. In 1932, C.P. Scott, British journalist, publisher and politician, dies at 85. In 1934, Jakob Wassmann, German writer and novelist, My Life as German and Jew, dies of a heart attack at 60. In 1940, Panuganti Lakshminarasimha Rao, Indian writer and essayist, dies at 74.